Hey, what's up everyone? Josh here from KeepItTechie, and today we're building a production-worthy reverse proxy with Nginx on Ubuntu 24.04. What we'll do is set up multiple sites, lock it down with letsencrypt TLS, add forwarded headers, so apps client IP addresses, and harden Nginx with smart timeout and rate limits. Now, one thing I'll be doing is using one of the virtual machines that I did in one of my last videos, which was the Jellyfin server running in Docker. And I'll be showing you guys how to run Jellyfin through our reverse proxy. That way you can get around the blocks that a lot of ISPs do when it comes to hosting things on port 80 and 443. Now, before we jump in, hit that like button if videos like this help you run your home lab with confidence, because it really helps the channel. All right, let's get into it. All right, so let me break it all down what I'll be doing in this video. First off, I'll be setting up the reverse proxy VM, and this will be Ubuntu Server 24.04. I will set up a subdomain on a public DNS Cloudflare, and I'll point that domain down to my home IP address using a Cloudflare Tunnel. And we'll get into more of that later on in the video. Now, the backend app, I'll be using the Jellyfin server that I set up using Docker, and that'll be on a separate server. It'll have a private IP address. I'll show you guys all of that once we get to that point as well. And the goal is to have the internet connections coming through our Cloudflare tunnel directly to our Nginx server using 443, and then to our internal services of Jellyfin. Now let's go down and hop over to our virtual machine so we can get started, because I don't want to make this video too long. So let's get to it. All right, let's get started with the first step. And the first step is to install Nginx and Certbot. And so I'll walk you guys through that real quick. It's super simple. The first thing you want to do whenever you're installing any new piece of software, you want to update your system. So at least check for updates. So you can go sudo apt updates and press enter. And this will refresh the repositories, the Ubuntu repositories, just to see if there are any updates to any packages that you have installed on your system. Now, as you can see, we don't have any packages. That went through pretty quick. So we can go down and install Nginx. And the command to do that is simply sudo apt install nginx. And it's spelled Nginx. So just go down and press enter, and you can also put the Y in there as well, dash Y. I always forget to do that, but yeah, that'll go down and install the package for you. So you don't have to answer that little question that pops up saying, are you sure you want this to take up this amount of space on your hard drive and install this package? Yes, we do. So that's what that's for. All right, so that install was pretty quick, and what you want to do is just verify that the services are running for Nginx. And all you have to do is type sudo systemctl, and then you can go status, and we can go Nginx and press enter, and it'll let us know if the service is actually running. So right now our web server is running on our server, and so let's quit. And then I want to also run IPA so we can find out what the IP address is of this system, and then we can head over to our browser right fast. And what you want to do is go to the IP address that showed up in the terminal, and mine is 10.10.0.111, and press enter, and that will let you know that Nginx is working on the system, or Nginx, I'm sorry. Now, for some reason, if you're not seeing this, it may be due to your firewall. And so let me go down and cover that real quick so you guys at least know how to set it up if you need to. There is an application on Ubuntu servers. It's called UFW. And this is uncomplicated firewall. It's essentially a front end for IP tables, which is installed on pretty much all Linux distros. UFW is basically a front end for it, and it makes the command super easy to make changes to your firewall from the terminal. So go down and turn on our firewall, but first we want to open up a couple ports. So let's type UFW and then allow. And what we want to do is allow Nginx full. And what that means is it will open up both ports, port 80 and port 443. And we need both of those open for our web server. Press enter, that will add those rules. And also what we want to do is open up the ports for OpenSSH, which it should already be there because we are connected via SSH. So let's go down and type that in right fast. So OpenSSH, that's what the package name is called. So Let's go and press enter. That'll add port 22, which is the default port for SSH, which is secure shell. And the reason you want to make sure you open that up, because if you're connecting to your server via SSH and you turn on your firewall, you run this command that I'm going to run next, you can potentially get locked out of your server. So let's say it's a cloud server. The only way you can connect to it is they have one of those terminal applications you can open up and then fix the firewall that way. But if you're connected remotely like I am from, let's say, my laptop or something, I'm connected to a server in the cloud. If you turn on the firewall without opening up the port for OpenSSH, then it will block you, essentially, because now you can't access that port because the firewall is actively blocking that port. So now we can go down and turn on our firewall. So let's go sudo ufw enable, and this will enable our firewall. And you may see this warning right here. It says command may disrupt existing SSH connection. So if you're connected via SSH, it may mess up your connection and you may have to reconnect, but it should be fine. As long as you have that open SSH open, it should be fine. You shouldn't run into any issues. It should stay connected like mine just did. As you can see, it says firewall is active and enabled on system startups. And then another thing you can do, just to quickly show you guys, is UFW status. You can run a status and this will show you the ports that are open. And as you can see, Nginx full, open SSH, and this is version 6 and those are version 4. From IP addresses that are version 4, it'll connect to, it opens up that port for that, and then as well as version 6 IP addresses. What's up, y'all? If you've been watching my channel for a minute, you already know I stay talking about Linux. And if you're looking for a solid, reliable enterprise Linux distro, let me put you on to Rocky Linux. This is the go-to replacement for CentOS, and it's built for the community, by the community. It's got everything you need for a stable and secure Linux experience, whether you're running servers, home labs, or enterprise workloads. And the best part, it's backed by CIQ, making sure it stays rock solid for the long haul. So if you're tired of these companies pulling the plug on your favorite distros, Rocky Linux is where you need to be. And I've covered Rocky Linux before, and trust me, it's worth checking out. So head over to rockylinux.org to learn more and get started. Keep it techie. Peace. Now that Nginx is up, let's install Certbot and the Nginx plugin for EasyTLS. I'll show you guys those two packages right there. So all you have to do is type sudo apt install Certbot is what we want to use. That will gather our certs. It's an automatic application that'll keep up with our certs on our server for whatever domain you set up using Certbot. And it will get those certs from letsencrypt. And I'll show you guys that once we get to that point where we set up our certs. Also, the other application we need to install is Python 3-Certbot. And this is a Nginx plugin that will assist with the Certbot working with Nginx to request new certificates and keep up with it and everything. So let's go and press enter and let that go through and install. Yeah, and I'm not sure why it didn't find that package, but as you can see, it's right here. I just hit tab and that brought up the package name. Maybe I spelled it incorrectly, which I don't think I did. Maybe I did, I don't know, but let's go down and run that so we can get it installed. Okay, all right, so just make sure you type in the package correctly, and like I always do with most of these videos, I go down and create a guide for you guys to follow, so you can just copy and paste the commands and you'll be good to go. Now let's do a quick check on our Nginx server. We could just type this command, so nginx-t, and this will test our configurations and all that good stuff. As you can see, Nginx, the configuration file, syntax is okay, all that good stuff. And right here, it's just a permissions denied error. So don't worry about it. You can run nginx-t and that'll get rid of that error that we're seeing right there. So Nginx, there we go. It checks both of them, those configuration files, which they're this. Now we can also check our Nginx again, our Nginx service again. So actually let's press up arrow so we can find it. That way we can make it simple. And I'll show you guys no pager right fast. I know a lot of people don't show that in videos. I'll show you guys no pager. Let's go down and show you. And there we go. So this checks our Nginx server. Now, one of the other things I want to show you guys with Nginx is how to get your base layout set as well as global hardening. I'll go down and show you guys how to make a few configuration changes to Nginx to make it a little bit more secure. And so let's go sudo make dir, let's go -p just in case, let's go etc, and then nginx, and then snippets. Let's create that file. All right, fast and percent, and excuse me, I meant directory. And under snippets, let's go down and create a file called security headers.conf, and this will be our configuration for security headers. I'm gonna back this make dir off, and we're gonna use nano to create this file. Boom. And I already have the settings written out, and this is just good hygiene for your Nginx server when it comes to security, the headers, and all that good stuff. Now, Jellyfin will ignore this, but like I said, it's good hygiene for most apps that you install in Nginx, like as far as web apps. And so let's go down and save that. So I'm gonna hit Control S and then X, that'll close out that file. And another file I want to create is our proxy.conf. So I'll show you guys that right fast. And like I said, I'll create a guide for you guys to follow, and you guys can just copy and paste all this stuff. So this will be our proxy configuration. So let's go down and press enter, and I already have all this information written out as well. So I'll just paste it in here so you guys can get an idea of what's actually going on. This will keep long streams stable, but mitigate slow layers if it arises. And this is mainly for a media server. This is things you want to do for a media server. Now, I've done all of this for my Plex servers in the past, as well as my current Jellyfin server as well. So I'm not showing you nothing I haven't done already for my system. So let's go down and save that right fast. And we need to create one more, and this is for our rate limits. We can go down and make changes there for that as well. So let's press up arrow, and then I just copied the name of the file so you guys can see it, but it's ratelimit.conf. Press enter, and let's go down and put a limit in here that is beneficial for our system. And I put some notes in here as well when I wrote it out, so you guys can see or understand what this is actually doing. 10 requests per second burst to 20 by IP, and tune for your needs if you need to. So I'll have all this information, like I said, in a wiki post or something like that. This will basically limit the rates. So like it's gentle by default, and this will help prevent choking when it comes to media, when you're streaming and all that stuff. And I know I'm going a little further, but I also wanted to expand a little bit on changes you should make to your proxy server for media streaming if you're setting up a Jellyfin server. And so these are all benefits for that. And let's go down and save this right fast. And what I want to do is make a few minor tweaks to the Nginx actual configuration. And this is under the Nginx directory. So I'm gonna back this off, the snippets, and then I'm gonna tab it out so you guys can see what's under there. But you'll see an nginx.conf file underneath here. And what you want to do is go to that and press enter. And we're gonna make a few changes here. And actually, no, best practice. What you want to do is copy or make a backup of your Nginx configuration. That's something I got out of doing or showing you guys because I assume you guys knew to do that, but you want to make sure you make a backup of your configuration file. So in case you make a mistake within your configuration file, you can always go back to the original file. And what I typically do is store it in the same location, and let's put nginx.conf. And then what I typically do is just put dot backup, and this will be a copy of the actual configuration file, and it'll store it in that same location. And one thing we can do is use some of our built-in variables. I'll go through that and show you guys some of that. I think you have to put it in quotes from what I remember, and then dates, and I believe it's plus %, and then capital F. And that should save it with the current date. So let's ls that directory so you guys can see it right fast. We can just tab right there and you guys should be able to see it. Yeah, there we go. So that's the current date. It's a backup of it. That is something that I recommend you guys do before making any changes to your Nginx configuration file. So let's go up in here and make a few changes right fast. Now under our HTTP block, which is right here, for one, what we want to do is include our configuration files. So some of our configuration files that we created. So we can go down here to the bottom. You see where it says include the meme. So we can go right here as well. And let's space over there right fast. And what I'm gonna do is add another space, but go back and we're going to include our etc, and sorry, I hit tab, but etc Nginx, and then our snippet of the rate limits. So let's go down and put that in there, .conf. And what you want to do at the end of it is put a semicolon. That way it goes to the next line. Now I'm gonna just copy the I'm gonna just copy the other options that I want to put in here as well for you guys, so you guys can check it out for yourself. I'm gonna drop it in here right fast, and I know I gotta fix this one right here. So this is a map, and we're gonna move it right there. Actually, let's put it up a line and then move it over there. There we go. Server name hash bucket size 64. So that's beneficial to have, as well as our map for the HTTP. It's a variable upgrade and connection upgrade. So the default is closed, and WebSocket upgrade. So if you guys are web gurus, you know what I'm talking about. So let's go down and save this right fast and exit out of our configuration file. And what you want to do is run another test. So all you got to do is type sudo nginx and then -t, press enter. That'll test our configuration files just to make sure we didn't make any syntax errors or anything like that. And then what you want to do is reload nginx. So you can type sudo and then systemctl and then reload nginx and press enter, and I'll reload. And as long as you don't see any errors right here, that means it took all of our changes. All right, so let's go down and create our Jellyfin reverse proxy. And I already know the IP address to our server. It is 112. That is my Jellyfin server. Let me actually make sure right fast. And yes, it's still 112, because right now I'm using dynamic IPs. I don't have a static IP address set on this server. So if I reboot it, it may end up with a different IP, but on both of these servers. But you want to set up static IPs when it comes to things like this, like a reverse proxy or a web server like Nginx. You want to have a static IP address so it can always find that service or that server on your network. But we shouldn't run into any issues in this demonstration. Now, our upstream lives at 10.112. And then also the port for Jellyfin is 8096. So you have to put all of that in your proxy server. And our upstream is going to be our domain name. So jelly.conf. And so what you want to do is create a virtual host right fast under Nginx first. So let's go in and create that. And I already have a built out virtual host file. This video is not about setting up virtual hosts. I'll just put the information in there. I have videos on setting up virtual hosts using Nginx as well as Apache. So let's just go down and paste in our configuration so we can get it working. But under etc, we can go under Nginx, and then there is a folder called sites available. And what you want to do is create your configuration file there. So let's go jelly, that's what I'm gonna name it, and press enter. And we need to type in our passwords. I totally forgot the nano command, nano, and then etc. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's go down and just copy in our configuration. I already have, like I said, I already have it all written out for us just to make it super simple. I'll give you guys a copy of it on my wiki so you guys can check it out. And actually, when I set this video up, it had a different IP address at the time. When I went through and did my setup for this video, I always go through and do this so I could see whatever errors I'm gonna run into, so I could fix them in case I run into them. And then also, let's see what else we got. And cool, so we got 80 and 443 stored in there. So jelly.keepitechie and jelly.keepitechie. This is the 443, which is our SSL, and then our location, which is the IP address of the server. That's one thing you want to change. And then also we have a log area. It'll store our logs in jelly.access.log as well as our errors under that file, and that's all stored under void log and then Nginx. So let's go down and save this right fast. Boom. Yes, we want to write that out. And one thing I forgot to point out to you guys in here, I'm gonna go back into it right fast, but you want to know the location of your actual keys or certificates. You got your certificate and your key, your private key. You want to know those locations, and I'll show you guys how to set up that directory. And then one thing we also have to do is go down and set up our Let's Encrypt directory, and this is basically our ACME web root. And what you want to do is go to sudo and create a directory under our var www. So make dir, and then let's go -p just in case, which I'm sure these other directories are there. So var www and then let's encrypt, and you want to make sure you spell it. So let's encrypt. Yeah, there we go. So let's go down and press that, and then let's go down and enable our site right fast. So let's go sudo ln-s, and what we're doing is creating a link from our configuration file that's stored under sites available to our enabled directory, and I'll show you guys that once we get to it. So nginx, And then what we want to go to is sites available, and then we want to specify that jelly config, and we want to link that to our etc nginx, and then our sites enabled, and press enter, and that will link that jelly.conf file for us, and we can run the nginx command again, or nginx. I keep saying nginx, but it's nginx. So -t, that'll test our configurations. This tests our vhost configurations as well as any other configuration files that are in our nginx directory. And let's go down and just run everything together. So systemctl, and then reloads nginx, and press enter, and that'll check. And it looks like, let's see, did we have any errors? No. Yeah, we do have an error right now, and that's only because we haven't generated our keys yet, our encryption keys. All right, now before we order our certs, we have to install another application, and this is where we get into Cloudflare, and I'll show you guys how to download this application right fast. Now switch back over to my browser, and what we're gonna do is open up a new tab, and I'll show you guys how to find it right fast. So all you have to do is type GitHub, and then we could type Cloudflare, and let's search for that, and this will take us to our Cloudflare page. They have an application called Cloudflared, and this is what we need right here. It's written in Go, and I'll have the link down in the description of the video on how to actually get to it, but this is how you set up a tunnel on Cloudflare. So this is only for people that are using Cloudflare. You need to install this in order to get around port 80 being blocked by your ISP. A lot of times, most ISPs, they block port 80 because they don't want people hosting websites from their home address, which I don't understand why. I think back in the day, they used to have like issues with people setting up sites with malware and all that stuff, and they wanted to prevent that. Only legitimate businesses could host a website from IP address, and so they didn't want regular users to be doing the same thing. But now this gets around that. So unless they can block a tunnel, which they can't, it's encrypted, you can use this to get around your ISP, not allowing you to host websites at your house. Now if you scroll down a little bit, they have instructions on how to actually set it up, so you guys can actually download it. There is a dashboard where you can set up the tunnel. You have to go under Zero Trust. I'm not going to log into my account. I'll have the link to this as well, so you guys can find it and set it up either this way, or you can set it up from the command line, which I'm going to show you guys how to do that right now. So let's switch back over to our terminal, and I already have the link to actually download Cloudflared. So I'm gonna download the dev package, and you guys can find that. Just search for it. It's out there. It's on GitHub, and you can download that package and then install Cloudflared. Especially if you're on Debian based or Ubuntu based, then you can install it using the dev package. So let's go sudo apt install, and then all you have to do is type -y and then period / find a dev package and press enter. So it all depends on where you downloaded it, and you can download this and install it just like this. Oh yeah, and I've ran into this issue before, so all we have to do is move the package to a different location. We can move it to our temp directory. So let's go sudo move, and then let's find that Cloudflare file. So cloudflare.dev, and we can move it to our temp directory. So let's go temp, and then put / and press enter. That'll move it over there, and then we can run it from our temp directory instead of running from our home directory, and that should work. And then sometimes we may have to adjust the permissions. We'll see, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But temp, and then we want to install this cloudflare.dev package, and it looks like it installed on our system, or it's already installed. It says permissions denied, so I assumed it didn't install, but it looks like it may have installed. Yeah, it did. The following new package installed. And yeah, I should have looked at the notes a little closer, but yeah, it's already installed on the system. But if you run into an issue where it's not installed, and you can run which Cloudflare with a D and press enter, and you'll see it. It's under user local bin Cloudflare, so it is installed on the system. But I remember in the past I had to move it in order to get it installed. I had to move it under the temp directory, which is, it's an easy solution, so you don't have to really worry about it. But let's go down and set up our tunnel. So let's go Cloudflared, and what you want to do is run tunnel login, and this will allow you to log into your account. And you guys probably won't see this, but it should pop up a link for us to get to our dashboard. Oh, there we go. So please open the following URL to log into your Cloudflare account. And so let's switch back over to the web, and I probably should have just went in here and showed you guys So I got to log into my account right fast. I was trying to avoid that. I thought you could do it from the command line. I thought I remember doing it from the command line, or maybe it was just a setup of the configuration is from the command line. I don't know, but I'll be right back after I log in. All right, and so when you go to this link, it'll ask you what domain you want to select. You can authorize a Cloudflare Tunnel, and what I'm gonna do is use my KeepItTechie .com, and that will set up our cert file. And let me show you guys that when we switch back over. As you can see right there, it says success. Cloudflare has installed a certificate allowing your origin to create a tunnel on this zone. And so you have to be logged in order to do that, and then or log into your account in order to do that. And then if we switch back over to our terminal, you guys will see that it was waiting for me to log in. Once I logged in from that link, and it has to be that link, it will copy down this cert to your system. Is stored under home. Cloudflare is a hidden folder, and then cert.pem. Now with that cert installed, we can go ahead and create our tunnel. And so all you have to do is use the Cloudflare command. Yeah, and this is the port I remember you can set up using a terminal. So Cloudflare and then tunnel, and then create, and you can name it whatever you want. I'm gonna just put KeepItTechie. That way I can find it and delete it after this. I'm gonna put -proxy, and it's like a temporary proxy. And then let's go down and press enter. This will create our tunnel for us and also give us our ID. And as you can see, under our hidden directory, under our home directory, there is our credentials, and they're stored in a JSON file. And so it will choose this each time it connects to just verify the connection and all that good stuff. But let's go on and configure our routes right fast. So what you want to do is, I like to keep everything organized, and you'll see this in the documentation. I like to follow documentation. I'm gonna make the directory under my etc directory for Cloudflared, and this is for our configuration file. And I'll show you guys how to set this up right fast in order for your tunnel to work, because you have to have this configuration file set up. So under etc Cloudflared, we're gonna create that directory for us and press enter. That'll create our directory, and what we want to do is create a file under there. So sudo nano, and actually let's use a T command. Let's just copy this right here, because I got a lot of this stuff already written out. I'm already taking too much time, and I basically wrote the tunnel to the file, to the actual file. It points to my tunnel JSON, and actually we have to grab that and put it in there. So and what it's saying is under root, but it's actually not. It's stored at this location. That's why you want to make sure you know where this is, so you can paste it into your configuration file. And so I just wanted to create it, and then we can go into it. We can go sudo nano, and then we can go under our etc Cloudflare, and we want to look at our configuration file. So config.yaml, and it's in the YAML format. Let's go down and modify our credentials file location, because it's stored under our home directory. So let's go down and switch that up and paste that in there. So that's our credentials file, and this is the host name. So jelly.keepitechie.com, and then the services, we want to go add on and change this to our location where our Jellyfin server is actually set up at. The IP address is 10.10.0.1112, and let's put a period in there so we can make sure we get to it. And you also don't need 443. We need our internal IP address. That way it's pointing to the actual service. And then we want to put our port, which is 8096. And let's go down and save this right fast and exit out. But that is our configuration file for Cloudflare. All right, so let me switch back over to the website, because I want to show you guys something. So once you log into your Cloudflare account, I just want to show you guys, you go to Zero Trust, and then under either network, click tunnels. And this will show your tunnels. And so right now, this is that tunnel we just created. And we click under here. I just want to kind of show you guys how to configure it a little bit if you need to, but just click on configure. You can also delete the tunnel, which is what I'm going to do exactly after this video. I'm not going to have this domain up anymore. When you set it up on the server, it doesn't allow you to manage it from up here. So that's fine, but you can migrate it up here if you need to. And that just will allow you to manage it from Cloudflare. And so anyway, that's how you get to the tunnels. You can actually create a new tunnel. If you want to, I can go back in here and you can create a new tunnel. It all depends on what you're using it for. You can set up one however you need to use it for. Name it something just to keep it standardized, and then we're good. And then also another thing, what you want to do is, and that's one thing I haven't done, which is set up the subdomain. What you want to do with that is go into your DNS records and go down and create a new record. And you want to create that record as a CNAME. So CNAME, and then you want to specify what it is. So we're going to name it Jelly, and all we have to do is type Jelly. That's fine. And then under here, and this is where we have to put our target. That way Cloudflare knows where to route the traffic to this tunnel specifically. And if we switch back over to our terminal right fast, just want to show you guys this. If you look up in here, this is our actual tunnel. So what we need to do is paste that into our target. And so let's switch back over to the website and drop this in there, and we can leave it on proxy, which is fine. And we can save that, and that will save that connection for jelly KeepItTechie.com. And so right now we can't go to it because the tunnel is not up. So switch back over to the terminal and let's finish out setting up the tunnel. And if we scroll down here, all we have to do is type Cloudflare Tunnel, and then we need to go route DNS, and then we want to set it for our KeepItTechie-proxy. That's why the name is important, or at least you understand what the name is. And then we want to specify jelly.keepitTechie.com, and you want to specify that. And let's just make sure we typed everything in correctly. So Cloudflare, and I might have to type sudo, I don't know. Yeah, it looks like, and also it's looking for the record, so it may not see the record yet. That might be what's causing the issue. Let's actually go up here and run it using sudo. I know for my other tunnel I had to run sudo in order for it to, yeah, it can't find a tunnel right now. And sometimes it pays to read the logs. I didn't have to wait. I just need to specify that cert that we saved on our system. But let's go down and find that. I know exactly where it is, but you basically have to, you could just drop this variable in. You can create a variable, environment variable, or you could drop it in the actual command. I'm gonna just drop it in the actual command. Let's go sudo, and then actually let me take sudo off because I don't even think you need sudo from what I remember. And then maybe the documentation I'm looking at, it may be thinking you're running it from root. So let's run our tunnel. So Cloudflare Tunnel, and then -- origin certs, and then we need to specify that cert. So it's under our home directory, and then .cloudflared, and then our cert.pem, and then route DNS. Yeah, and then that should work for us. I gotta run, it failed to create the record. We don't need to create the record because I already created the record. Maybe that's something I need to do. I need to go down and delete that record and let it create it this way, because I forgot that's the way I set it up when I set up the tunnel from Cloudflare and not from the command line. So I'm gonna delete that. I know you guys can't see it, but let me switch back over. But I deleted that record because that's what this command is supposed to do. So let's go back to the terminal and let's create that record right fast with that cert. So it should create it. Yeah, there we go. So we got that tunnel, and it's the tunnel ID. So this was the tunnel ID. We didn't need to put the name behind it. Actually, let's switch back over to our browser and refresh the page. Let's see if we can find it. Let's see if it's there. What was it called? Jelly? There we go. So Jelly is proxied and everything. So that's what happens when you actually create it from the command line. It'll put all that information in there for you. So CNAME, Jelly, and don't you remember I just did it all manually? You don't have to do that. You can run it from the command line. It will put it in your account that way. All right, let's switch back over to the terminal and let's finish this thing out. What I'm gonna do is enable the service, because you want Cloudflare to run whenever the system boots up. And I forgot, you have to create your configuration file. So let me get that command first. And like I said, I have a list of these commands, but you have to install a systemd. It's a command that allows you to do it. Like I said, you can follow along with my commands I give you. So create that configuration file or the service that we need, and now we can enable the service, and we can actually check the status of the service as well right fast. I don't know, I don't think we have to start it, but should be started. Yeah, it's active and started, enabled. So whenever you reboot, it'll connect back to the tunnel. So it's registered to the tunnel, it's connected, all that good stuff. And so we should be able to go to our Jellyfin server just by typing in jelly KeepItTechie.com, and this normally is pretty fast. So let me open up a new tab and just type jelly keep, and I forgot I need to put HTTP, so HTTPS. And actually, yeah, we don't have a cert installed on it, but I'll show you guys that in a second. So KeepItTechie.com, and it should allow us to get to it. I won't. that's fine. But at least it's hitting Cloudflare server now. We get to go with at least that. So it's just not going through. We need to put a cert on the server or on the actual domain right fast. So let me walk you guys through that process right fast. All right, so let's go down and create our certificate right fast for jelly.keepitechie.conf. I already had the command written out, so I'll just go down and show it to you guys. But sudo certbot nginx-d, and then we specify our domain. That's what the -d is for. And then --email, that's the email address associated with the cert that you want to create for this domain. So let's go and press enter. This should go through and connect to Cloudflare. It may have some issues, which that's what it looks like we're seeing right now. Yeah, the plugin is not working, and we're gonna have an issue with that. So we gotta take our SSL. I keep forgetting about that. Let's just go down and take our SSL out of that configuration file for Jelly. So let's go sudo nano. Then under our etc directory, we can go to nginx, and then let's go to Jelly, and then let's go to sites available, and then we want to go to our jelly.conf, and let's go down and comment all of this out. You know what, and let's go delete, get rid of all that, leave our location, save, exit, and then let's test again. Should work now. Yeah, boom, there we go. So we got our configuration file working for jelly.conf, and now let's go down and try to go down and request a cert. All right, let me go down and try one more thing. Let's switch over to our browser. If I don't get this working, I'm not gonna put the video up, but I think if we go under Jelly, we need to turn this proxy off right here because it's not using our normal DNS for the server. That's why I can't find the actual domain. That eventually that proxy will work. It just takes too much time, and since I'm recording this video and I just made this change, it's gonna take a little time. So let's try to run the certbot again, actually run a curl again. Let's see, bad gateway again. Let's just try to run certbot and see what happens. Since it's on proxy only, some challenges failed, certificate authority failed to verify temporary nginx configuration changes made by the certbot, and it doesn't need an A record for that. I don't know why it's saying that, but all right, let me try one more way and hopefully this works. But this is the way I ran it on my other servers, using just getting the cert only. If you look in here, and if this is the correct way of doing it, I'm gonna run it this way, and it may not work because I don't have Cloudflare API. I don't think. We'll see. Let's run it and see what happens. By default, so it's missing those credentials, that API credentials, and from what they look like, I may need to just run a couple of updates. And I apologize, guys. It never takes this long, and this is why I've always avoided this video, because you run into so many problems when it comes to proxy servers, and like I've never had a single experience where everything just worked right away. So I'm gonna find that way though, and I'm gonna put it in my article so you guys can follow that at least. Let's try to install this Python DNS Cloudflare to the system. Let's see, Python 3, and then certbot, and then this is DNS. We're gonna add our DNS here, and then it's Cloudflare. So let's go down and get that installed on our system, and then we should be able to check and see if the plugin is there. All right, so let's type certbot, and then we want to check the plugins, and this will just let us know if that DNS plugin is there. Let's see. So we got our nginx plugin, authenticator. Let's see, standalone web roots, DNS Cloudflare. There we go. So we got that stored on our system, and we should be able to point to it now when we run the command. So let's press up arrow, and actually, one more thing I forgot. We got to create the secrets for our DNS Cloudflare. First off, I'm gonna just copy the commands because I had to end up looking some of this up. So I know one thing you got to do is add your API key into a file under roots, and let me show you guys this. So let's go sudo nano, and then under our root directory, we need to create a folder called secrets, and then under that folder, we need to create a Cloudflare file, and this is mainly for just connecting to that DNS server in order to get our certs. And so let's go on and get into that file, and I'm not going to show you what I'm putting in here. I'm gonna just put the beginning, because this is all you need really, is boom, and then you want to put your API key. I'm not going to show you mine at all. I'm gonna pull it from another system. I'm gonna put it in there on pause so you guys don't see it. But all you have to do is put your token in there, and then I'll show you how to lock it down. But I'll be back in a sec. All right, now your Cloudflare API key is very important, so you want to lock it down. I'm gonna delete mine after this, but I recommend you run like a couple commands like sudo chmod, and then let's go 600, and then on that root directory, and then .secrets, and then that Cloudflare.ini file. You want to lock that totally down, man. I'm gonna leave it the way it is right now because I just want to make sure this thing works for us. But let's go down and run our certbot again. This is the last time. If it doesn't work, I'm not gonna do it again, and I might need to put my other email in here. Nah, I should be fine with that. Press enter. Unsafe permissions. See, it's gonna tell you right there. That's another thing. It's gonna tell you right there that you don't have the permissions. You know what I'm saying? So you want to make sure that you set those permissions there. Those credentials are very important, because if somebody get a hold of your Cloudflare API key, they can do whatever. You know what I'm saying? They have access to whatever that API key has access to. And I totally forgot that I had to use Cloudflare's DNS application in order to connect to their servers, and for it to actually find their servers, Certbot to actually find their servers and create a cert for my systems. And just so you guys know, I put a wait in there, so DNS Cloudflare propagation by second, so 60 seconds. And the reason I put that in there because sometimes it fails, it doesn't work all the time, you know what I'm saying? And the default time, it'll time out before it actually gets to the DNS server. So just want to let you guys know that. Now this is the location of our certs. So as you can see, our key is saved at private key, and then our full chain, our certificate is stored right there. So you want to copy that because that's going to be needed in our configuration for Nginx. And man, I wish I would have set some of this stuff up ahead of time, but I wanted to show you guys how to do all this stuff from scratch. But anyway, I'm over talking. So let's go back under our configuration. So let's type sudo, and then nano, and then etc, and then nginx, and then we want to go under our sites available, and then we want to check out our jelly.conf. Press enter, and we want to modify this so it'll go through port 443. And let me go down and find my long configuration file that I showed you guys that will set up the server properly. And I always put the internal ports so I can always access it locally if I need to. Now let's go down and clear this, and then let's go down and pop in our configuration. And it looks like the name may have changed for our certs. No, they should be right. So SSL certificate stored under jelly.keepitechie.com, and then full chain. And then we got our private key under the same location. So etc letsencrypt live. Yes, so it's stored in that same location. And one thing we need to do is modify our IP addresses, because I keep forgetting that I changed it. So this one is 112, that Jellyfin server 112. And let's go ahead on and save, exit. And now let's run our test and update of our Nginx configurations. There we go. So sudo nginx-t, and then at sudo systemctl reload nginx. So let's press enter. I should check and see. It says test failed. Map derivative is not allowed in our configuration. All right, so I corrected that, and I forgot to record while I was doing it. But basically what I did was I went into our configuration file and I made a few changes in here. There was a map setting or configuration in here. I just removed it because it's not needed, and then I created a global map configuration for it. So let's go ahead and close that out. And then once I ran our check, test, and reload, everything worked from there. Now the moment of truth. Now let's go over to our browser again, and what we're gonna do is open up a new tab, and then let's paste in our URL and go to it, and boom, there we go. We are good to go. That took forever, but we are good to go. Now if you look up here, you'll see that we do have a connection that is secure. So we do have a cert and everything for this thing. So certificate is valid. Let's click there. Boom. That way you guys can see exactly what's there. So we got a cert for jelly.keepitechie.com. Ignore the organization and the organization units, but common name, organization, letsencrypt. So it's issued by letsencrypt. And with letsencrypt, they're gonna give you like a couple months, 3 months or so. Like you can see, this is October or August, but it auto renews if you set that up. And actually Let me show you guys how I set that up right fast as well. And I might split this video up so you guys can just look at both of them back to back. And so let's switch back over to the terminal, and then by default, Ubuntu 24.04 installs Certbot with systemd timers by default. So you have to search for timers. Let me show you guys that right fast. So let's go systemctl and then list dash timers, and then we could grep for Certbot just to make it simple, so we could find just the timers for Certbot. And let's press enter, and there we go. So we got a service right there, and it's set up for us, so we are good to go. We actually have it, but you could do a dry run of actually renewing your certification or your certificate by typing sudo certbot and then renew and then dash dry dash run. I believe that's how you do it. Yeah, there we go. And so it's going to go through and fake a renewal of the cert for jelly.pro or KeepItTechie.conf just to see if it can get it, and boom. And it's still talking about those unsafe permissions. Like I said, I'm gonna delete this crap off of here, so if you guys do get into one of my systems, you can't find that API key to my Cloudflare server. But anyway, once this finishes, like I said, it simulates the renewal and reload of nginx automatically for that actual domain. And it'll do it for all of them. So if you have multiple hosts, and like I told you guys a while back, earlier in the video, I was gonna do 2 virtual hosts. Really, all you had to do is add another configuration file in there, and that'll be your virtual host. So I'm not gonna make the video any more longer than it has to be. That pretty much covers everything for it. And then also, let me show you guys, since we're in the terminal, I have some of these commands written out. So in case you need to troubleshoot, you can check out your logs for both. Like I just pulled up both logs. All right, so today we set up advanced reverse proxy on Ubuntu 24.04, added TLS forward, headers, multi-site, and actually we didn't get to the multi-site, but we'll get to that next time. I'll show you guys how to set up virtual hosts on Nginx. I actually got a video out there for it, but I think it's for 22.04. You guys can check it out. It's pretty much the same. I'll do one for 24.04 just so it'll renew in the algorithm so you guys can find it and see how to actually do it on the latest version of Ubuntu. And I also did a little hardening that won't wreck Jellyfin's streaming and all that stuff. And I also showed you guys how to set up that Cloudflare Tunnel, which took us a minute. You know what I'm saying? It's a safe alternative for running one of these servers like this or hosting something from your house. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I know Cox is one of the biggest offenders. They block port 80 for home use. Also, you can't use 443, so they block that too. And then in order to get a certificate, you have to have port 80 open in order to renew the cert as well as get the cert. So yeah, they kind of screw you if you want to host something at your house, which they need to, that rule I think was created back in the 90s. They need to go down and let that go. You know what I'm saying? During the .com boom, that's when that rule was set out in Cox Communications, or in the early 2000s when internet started speeding up. They put those rules in where you couldn't host things from your home network, which in my opinion, they shouldn't put a block on my internet connection. I'm paying you for the internet. Give me unfiltered, unfeathered internet connected to my house. I don't have to worry about ports being blocked and all that stuff. Just give me all my ports. Give me everything I need that I'm paying you guys for, which is unfiltered internet. But anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to find a breakpoint in this video and probably split it up into 2 of its own videos. And that's so I can tighten the runtime, because I know this thing is gonna be long. But if this helped, go down and drop a like. And if you're new here, subscribe for more Linux and homelab content. I'm Josh from KeepItTechie, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. Yo, what's up, y'all? Listen, if you've been sitting there thinking about making a move, let me tell you, tech is where it's at. I don't care where you coming from, whether you've got a degree, a GED, or just pure hustle. There's room for you in this game. You see, tech is more than just keyboards and code. It's solving problems, creating opportunities, and building the future. You already have what it takes, because tech doesn't care where you start. It cares where you're willing to go. You can teach yourself Linux, learn Python, break into cybersecurity, or even launch your own app. And the resources are out here for free. And yes, you heard me, free. Now, yeah, it's gonna take effort. You'll have to grind, but think about this. The time is gonna pass anyway. So why not invest it in a skill that'll change your life? I mean, tech doesn't just pay the bills, it opens doors to freedom, stability, and generational wealth. So stop doubting yourself, Start small, stay consistent, and keep building, because this isn't just a career, it's a movement. And guess what? You belong here. So let's get it, because the future is yours to build. Keep it techie.